Why men historically propose to women. My best friend and I have known each other, and been best friends, since first grade. Although we're more like sisters at this point, we're also very different, and, interestingly, one of the ways this played out was how we each got engaged. My husband and I went a more traditional route, in that he was the one who popped the question. Granted, I knew it was coming. He and I had talked about it in detail, laid out our requirements for circumstances that had to be met before we'd be comfortable getting engaged, and, once those requirements were met, designed the ring together. And, when he got down on his knee and busted out the ring, I replied with a much less additional expletive yes, I'll marry you, followed by a stand the expletive up. Dude, this is a marriage of equals and you don't need to kneel. So Therese one break with tradition, and that my very sweary acceptance isn't how, well, pretty much any women of yore would've responded. My bestie, by contrast, decided she wanted to be the one to propose to her then boyfriend, who's now her husband and is an all-around awesome dude. I was surprised when she told me her plan, only because I'd never known anyone who'd flipped the traditional gender roles like that, but about 0.06 seconds later. I though, who says the man has to be the one proposing? I mean, just because something has, in recent memory, always been done a certain way, that doesn't rule out doing it differently now. And, for that matter, why don't women propose? Why has it always been done this way? What's the history behind men as the ones giving the proposal and women as ones receiving it? The history of marriage. In order to understand why men propose to women, it's important to get a sense of how marriage itself evolved. Or, to quote The Princess Bride, Mawaj, that West event, that dream wife in a dream marriage began, back in the Stone Age, as a means of building alliances, as well as organizing disparate groups people, the land they worked, and the goods they produced. Marriage spoke to the needs of the larger group. It converted strangers into relatives and extended cooperative relations beyond the immediate family or small band by creating far-flung networks of in-laws, explains author Stephanie Coontz in Marriage, A History. Eventually, as civilizations got more complex and stratified, the role of marriage in acquiring in-laws changed. Marriage was an economic and political transaction, and as a result, finding a husband was usually the most important investment a woman could make in her economic future. Coontz writes, this system of marriage as a means of economic and political advancement was nearly universal until about the late 18th century, when social norms started to shift towards people choosing their spouses based on love and personal affection rather than political or economic expediency. And y'all, this was a radical change, which many thought was irrational and would almost certainly end in disaster. By the 19th century, most Europeans and Americans came to accept a new view of husbands as providers and of wives as nurturing homemakers, explains Coontz. So, now, knowing the background of the background of marriage itself, how does the proposal play